Good morning to the Academic A team. I trust that you're having a good holiday, but that your matric exams, final exams, are lingering in the back of your mind and you're actively strategizing what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. I just like to start you off with a quote from The Alchemist. Remember that wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. So this treasure, this NSC aggregate that you desire, it's already within you. That is where your heart is, and that treasure is already within you. We just need to make a concentrated effort over the next few weeks to unlock that treasure. So I'm going to be speaking to you this morning about a practical guide to academic achievement. Now, you gents know that I'm Mrs. Charasika, but you don't really know what might qualify me to have this conversation with you. So at heart, I am a scholar. I was always first or second in the grade when I was at school. I finished school at Queenstown Girls High School. In my matric year, we had 21 A aggregates. So we had a lot of academic clout and a strong academic culture at the school. I'm also a international level debater, more specifically adjudicator. I did world school style debating at school and then moved on to British parliamentary style debating at university, where I eventually found my niche in adjudication. At the height of my career, I adjudicated worlds for British parliamentary style debating, the World Universities Debating Championships, and so I've adjudicated teams like Monash and Harvard and Cambridge. So I really have some experience in grappling with the world of ideas. And so I'd like to share some hacks with you on academic achievement this morning. And then lastly, by profession, I'm actually an anthropologist. Anthropology is not the study of insects. Anthropology is a social science. It is the study of culture. And so what I really do is I look at cultural practices from a systemic perspective, and I look at why people do the things they do and how their everyday beliefs and routines impact what their overarching beliefs are and how they view the world. So I kind of look at the school as an ecosystem, and then I look at how learners navigate that ecosystem and how they interact with the ecosystem to achieve their academic results. So I study the cultural system of the school, and eventually, once I know the system really well, I might be able to give you some suggestions on how to improve within that system using the deeply ingrained cultural knowledge that's already within your system or within yourself. So let's have a look at the philosophical underpinning of academic success. And many of the self-help books that you may have come across as you've navigated your academic career so far might have given you this very common sense notion that you should know your why. If you have this overarching dream that can push you when you're exhausted and you know your why, then you will reach success. Now, knowing your why is important, gents, but sometimes that's something really intimidating to say to a 17-year-old boy. Maybe you know you want something bigger than Komani. Maybe you know who you stand for and that you want to make yourself or your family proud. You know some of your whys, but I don't think at 17 or 18 years old that it's necessarily easy to have this intrinsic motivation to push at 4 in the morning every day for the next 2 months, just from knowing your why. I think that there's a secret hack that can help you through the next 8 weeks. And that secret hack is it's in the being. While you were writing trial exams, Mrs. Roche did a speech on being enough. Go and check it out in our latest newsletter. I want to reiterate that message and tell you that right now, being is enough. You are enough. I want you to engage the present moment every single day. And if you have full confidence that your being is significant right now and that what you're doing right now is meaningful and important, then I think that it will give you the courage to keep going, even when the coffee's cold and the light bulbs aren't coming on. So please know for the next 8 weeks that academic achievement is in the being. You are enough right now, and you are deriving value right now. Of course, education is the one thing that nobody can take away from you. In 20 years' time, when you're applying for some fancy postdoctoral research, they'll still want your NSC certificate, tangible proof that your education is the one thing no one can take away from you. So, let's get a little more deeply into it. How did I become an academic rock star? How did I become someone with an aggregate at school of over 90%, someone who's committed to lifelong learning, so much so that I sacrificed big, high-end careers with titles and became a teacher? Well, it's got to do with a three-pronged approach, right? The first prong is steadfast habits. I don't believe that I'm the smartest person in the world. I just believe that I have a very strong academic foundation that comes from my mom. And from the time that I was in grade 4, she ingrained steadfast academic habits in me: discipline, consistency, timetables, really practical things that can help you get through the tough days and nights as you grapple with tough academic puzzles. Then the second aspect, unwavering self-belief. This is something I was lucky enough to have my dad instill in me. Just the knowing that I can do it, and the self-confidence that always kept me pushing, no matter how difficult the sum, no matter how late the night, no matter how last minute the studying. I've developed an unwavering self-confidence around things that I work hard at. And I want you to do the same. To be in the top 7 academically at your school, you have some foundation of hard work. But I want you to question whether you've got the confidence and the unwavering self-belief that you can get an A aggregate, a level 7 pass at the end of the year. If you don't have that self-belief yet, I need you to fake it till you make it. Yes, that's right. I need you to have positive affirmations with yourself in the mirror every day that you are worthy of being a heavyweight champion in terms of academics. All right? And then the third aspect is this idea of absolute concentration on the present. Sometimes when you're in matric, you're so worried about the next step, the first year at varsity, the future, making your first million, that you lose sight of what it is you need to be doing in the present. And studies on anxiety and depression always bring people back to the present moment and back to gratitude in order to start dealing with anxiety and depression. So if you have academic anxiety, if you're worried about what the future holds next year, the first way to overcome that is to focus on the present moment, to focus on being grateful for what you have, and to focus on what you can do right now to be in control of your marks. And that sounds simple and silly, but just try it for a couple of days, and you'll see that it's going to reap rewards, and it's going to keep you so preoccupied with working out what the answer to this sum is, or how to write this essay, that you actually develop this passion for and excitement for what you're doing. And you can temporarily forget about the future. The future is going to happen whether you do well in these exams or not, so you may as well just go ahead and give it your best shot. All right. The last point I'd like to discuss with you today. How are you going to take action, gents? Now, I know some of you are really fatigued already. You feel you've given it a lot, but I want to tell you that you haven't given it everything yet, because it's not over yet. A friend of mine at university always said, there's no way there but through. And I need you to follow through and start taking action today to get this A aggregate. If somebody like your principal, who's so esteemed, who believes so much in Queen's College, who has such a big vision and such lofty goals for your school, if he tells you you can get an A aggregate, he doesn't say that lightly. He says that because he believes in you, right? And now we need you to take action. So Step number 1, make a strategic plan. If you don't do any studying this holiday, because it's in your strategy that you need to rest, that's okay. But you still need to be making a strategic plan about what you're going to do when you stop resting. You need to, if you're a business economics student, do a SWOT analysis. In trials, reflect on what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats were, and have a reflective exercise to know where you're at. All right? Do some research on how you're going to manage your time effectively going forward, your nerves effectively. Have a conversation with Gemini AI or ChatGPT to help you design a strategic plan. But this holiday, you need to make your strategic plan. And of course, going into step 2, making a strategic plan once you've got goals and philosophical underpinnings, then you actually need practical steps and implementation, and you need to create a timetable. You already have your term planner from Queen's. You know when prize giving and valedictory and all of those things are. You already have your final exam timetable. So now you need to sit down and you need to make a timetable where you commit to the level of work that you're going to do over the next 8 weeks or so. Please be realistic. If you used to do 2 hours of studying a day for trials and then play around for the rest, you're not suddenly going to have the stamina to do 8 hours a day. If you used to do 2 hours, just up it to 4. And then here towards the end, you can aim for 6 and 8. All right? You don't want to burn out. If you've honestly already been burning yourself out, you probably want to scale it down a bit. And if you've been working for 6 hours a day, you want to work for 4 hours a day and then just focus on working more smartly. All right? So number 2 doesn't say make your timetable, gents. It says live your timetable. Once you've made your timetable, you've got to start living it. All right? Immediately. If from next week you're going to be studying from 4 to 6 in the morning, but this week you want to rest, this week you should start waking up at 4 in the morning. And then from 4 to 6 you can do a leisure activity and then have a sleep later in the day. But you need to get your body ready for the time of the day that you're going to work. Focusing this week on things like eating healthy, getting a bit of exercise, getting enough sun, getting enough water can also help you live your timetable in the weeks to come. Step number 3 is a point which has an uncomfortable concept in parenthesis. Needs must, study by rote. All right? There are some concepts, gents, that you simply have to learn off by heart. If you want to be able to write an effective essay on the heart and the circulatory system in your life sciences essay, you've got to study the theory. If you want to be able to answer your essays and contextuals in an essay in a literature paper for English effectively, you've got to know your plot, basically off by heart. Not so that you can repeat it off by heart, but so that you can apply it to the skill set that you've learned about writing essays or approaching contextuals. So there are some things that you are going to have to study off by heart. And I noticed when I analyzed your marks that there's a tendency for weaker marks in English paper 2. There's a tendency for weaker marks in subjects like life sciences. Gents, those are learning subjects. If we're pushing level 6s and level 7s for science and maths and accounting, there's no need to be dropping the ball in a subject like English or life science. Those subjects have concepts that you can learn by rote and that you need to learn by rote. If you think you're not good at learning things off by heart, there's no such thing. And what I will share with you on the group today is a booster booklet that I made for the boys taking part in the SARC and booster program last term. And there's some exercises that you can work through to help you learn things by rote effectively. And that's the kind of booklet I suggest you go through now during the holidays to familiarize yourself with learning things off by heart. Then number 4 is more exciting, and it's something that those of us who are academically inclined are quite good at, and it says tackle the puzzle. Of course, at this stage, we're starting to cram, and so we're tackling the past paper puzzle, and we're trying to master 3 past papers for every single paper that we are writing. Obviously, in subjects where you're already getting 90%, you might want to do a little less. And then in the subjects where you've targeted yourself that you can improve, you need to really focus on the past papers. Remember, gents, if you're getting 90% for maths and 70% for English, to get from 90 to 95 proportionately for maths is going to be really difficult and take a lot of higher order thinking. But to get from 70 to 75 or 80 for English is going to require you to grapple with middle order questions or score 1 critical thinking mark out of 3 in a question. And so it is easier for you at this stage to improve on the lower marks. It's not necessarily like boys who are struggling that need to cut their losses. You're not in a position to cut your losses. You're in the position where you're going to strengthen everything because you need to get every mark up by 2 or 3%, starting with the ones where you're getting lower marks to get that A aggregate. So please get excited about doing past papers. My friend at school, the only one who beat me academically, beat me because she was better at maths than me. And I could never understand why she enjoyed doing math sums. But that's the mindset you've got to get yourselves into. And where some of you are luckier than me is that you already have something you excel at. I only started excelling at debating after school. And so during school, I didn't always have the strategic depth for this puzzle or skills-based experience that I needed. All right? So if you're a first-team cricketer, if you are a first-team chess player, if you have a sport that you love to watch and you love to analyze with the commentators after the game, then you can tackle the past paper puzzle. Because just like in a chess match where you anticipate the person's moves, you've got to anticipate the examiner's moves. Just like in cricket where you've got to strategize about batting and bowling averages and who to play first and so on and so forth, you've got to strategize right now which subjects you're putting your attention and energy into. And you can message any of the teachers on this group if you need help with that. And you've got to strategize how to capitalize your energy as you tackle your skills, your past papers, your subjects, so that you get the best possible benefit with the least cost to yourself. Because obviously energy and time studying takes a toll on you. And at this stage, you've got to strategize very carefully so that you don't burn out over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, staying in the present is going to help with that because it's only 6 to 8 weeks of your life. This is not a 10 or 15-year plan. You just have to peg through the race. You don't have to run 15 in a row. Okay, we're nearly done. Point number 5, focus on what you do understand. All right? So what do I mean by this? I mean capitalize on your strengths. A lot of you are tracking swaar. You're carrying a heavy burden when it comes to doing languages because you're very good at analytical and scientific subjects. So with the subjects that you're struggling with, focus on what you understand. Turn the subject into something that uses the skills that you're already good at. So if you're already a whiz at maths, go and take out that survival guide to English and learn the steps, the methods, the analytical tools of grammar, and study your work from that perspective. If you're a more practical and skills-based person and you're getting an A for CAT or maths list, right? Then you need to go and study your recipes for writing essays. Then you've got to practically engage the text, spend time reading the text to improve your English marks, okay? Stop focusing on what you don't understand, trying to be someone you're not, and start using the skills you already have and apply them to the subject that you're doing. Something that I'm finding as an educator post-COVID is that in terms of emotional quotient, you guys were put into a tricky position during COVID because you were put into isolation and you were put under extreme stress. And many of you struggle with anxiety when you find something that you're struggling with, right? And so you tap into those feelings of anxiety and you get overwhelmed. Now, how can we overcome that? Firstly, we can overcome that by removing ourselves from spaces of PTSD, removing ourselves from that isolation, studying in community. So if you're studying for 5 hours a day, Spend 1 hour a day with a study group where you can be in community with each other. You can feed off the positives, feed off what other people do understand, explain stuff to each other, and sort of regroup your mind in community and take you away from that space of anxiety and isolation that you were conditioned as a high stress space. So have moments of community to help you focus on what you do understand. That can really help. And use practical skills. Rely on your IQ, which for all of you in this group is really high. And if you're focused on practicalities and IQ and past papers, then EQ becomes sort of the shadow, and it's something that you can tackle intensively after the exam period. Number 6, do manage your stress. Firstly, from focusing on what you do understand. Secondly, maybe from daily gratitude activities. Thirdly, allocating a small portion of your day to physical activity, especially if you're already a sportsman and you already sort of rely on your body moving as a way to release dopamine as a part of who you are. Have practices every day to manage your stress so that it does not overwhelm you. And staying in the present moment is once again something that can help you manage stress. Focus on the task you have to do today, in the next hour, and really live in the present for the next couple of weeks. Of course, once you've got your goals and your timetables in place, that becomes a lot easier. Number 7, and this is something I've dealt with a lot in class with you guys, learn lessons. You are a group who beat yourselves up exceptionally when you make mistakes. I've seen how your shoulders and your body language drop when you make mistakes and you struggle to come back from it. And I need you here to really dig deep, and I need you to make a mind shift switch, all right? Where making a mistake is learning a lesson. Getting the sum wrong means that I can go back to the memo. I can check for the point in the sum where I went wrong. I can analyze what the memo did differently. I can message my teacher to say, Mr. Mkandla, Mrs. Vincent, I got step 1, 2, 3 right, and then I just went awry here at step 4. What lesson must I learn? What was I supposed to do? And really start seeing lessons as the stepping stones to success rather than failures. And it comes back to this thing of mine where I want you to have concentrated self-belief or unwavering self-belief. I am enough. I can learn lessons. I am not my mistake. Learn lessons constantly to get one more mark, one more mark, one more mark. Remember, level up means on average 10% more, which means about 1.5% per subject, all right? Which means in English that you need 1 out of 10 in every 10-mark question. 3 out of 30, 3 out of 25, 6 out of 50. So just focus on those little lessons that add up to a lot of marks. And then number 8 is my last point for the day, and it's something a little more way out and something that you would maybe research further on your own. I want you to look into the world of visualization, gents. So I have this activity I do when I'm teaching young children how to do public speaking, where I teach them to visualize success. Okay? So let's do the activity together quickly. I want you to close your eyes and lift up your arm, all right? And then swing your arm behind you. Okay? See my arm behind me there. Close your arms and swing your arm behind you and just see where it lands. Close your eyes, lift your arm up, swing it behind you, open your eyes, and mark off the point where your finger landed. All right? Look for an area marker where your finger landed. Now look back at the screen. This time I want you to close your eyes, but I don't want you to move your body at all. I just want you to move in your mind. So close your eyes. In your imagination, lift up your hand. Feel the air moving over your arm. When your hand is lifted up, swing it to the back until that moment you have in your mind comes into focus. That geographical marker that you made, have a look at it. Now, in your mind's eye, engage your muscles and push your hand 5 centimeters further to the next geographical marker. Now give me everything you've got and push it another 30 centimeters further, a whole ruler. Think of what you're seeing. Open your eyes and look at me. Right. Now that we've visualized lifting our arm and swinging it, let's do it again. And you're going to do it physically this time without overthinking it. Close your eyes for me. Lift up your hand. Swing it to the geographical marker. Swing it another 5. Swing it another 30. Open your eyes and see how much further your hand is. This experiment has never failed me. After visualizing my movements, I can move my range of motion, my arm swoop, much, much further. Now, guys, the power of the imagination is so important. And when we imagine things, we create a file in our brains that already exists. And by creating that file in our brains that already exists, when we do something in reality, our brains know what to expect, and they can push themselves that much further. Not just in terms of brain power and imagination, but in terms of physical results. This is a hack. This whole idea of visualization is a hack that my principal taught me at school. And it's a hack that I used to pass my driver's license because I had to overcome serious nerves and very bad cohorts. Every day for a month, before my driving lessons, I used to sit and visualize what I was going to do in the car that day and physically feel myself doing it and plan it in my brain. And I passed my driver's license first time round, despite being the worst driver in my family. So I need you to do some research on visualization techniques. And then I need you to do a visualization exercise, starting today until the morning of your very last exam. And I need you to visualize your success in the exam venue. I need you to visualize what it's going to smell like, what it's going to sound like, where you're going to sit down at your desk, how you're going to place your stationery, what the invigilator's voice will sound like, how you're going to use your time effectively during reading time, the writing process. Remember, in English, we've spoken about how the more of our senses we engage, the more effectively we can learn. So visualize how you're going to write, what you're going to do on the question paper, how you're going to practice your skills. Feel yourself being successful at the sums. And it's something that you can practice in reality by doing timed past papers as well. So you can practice it in your imagination and in reality. And really do a 10-minute visualization activity every single day to prepare you to deal with the nerves, the pressure, the intensity, all the other things in the exam venue that aren't the practical writing. So that was my last tip for you for the day. I wish you every success in the exams, and I really want to tell you that the teachers are here to assist you. Have conversations on this group. Work together with each other. Ask your teachers for a concrete plan on what you can do to get your individual marks up. Do what it takes to get through the next 8 weeks or so and really show us that you are an A-team student. We know it. Do you know it? Thank you, gents.